So today
we're reviewing
The Nun II.
Number 2. We just saw The Nun II. This is the probably 4th, 5th, or 6th movie in the Conjuring universe.
Yeah, definitely.
At least. We were joined today by Kyle Redden.
Yes, sir. What up, everybody?
So, Kyle, what were your initial thoughts of The Nun II?
Okay, I gotta be honest with you. Leading into this movie, started looking up some YouTube stuff. Had to get some of my memories back from all this good stuff. But I've always loved the series. Never been disappointed, really. But I do find horror movies really kind of interesting as is. So I was looking for something a little different. And I would say that this succeeded for sure.
Initial thoughts, I mean, walking out of the theater, there was definitely a lot to like about this movie. It got you thinking. As a major fan of the Conjuring universe, there's been some absolute perfect films in this universe, and there's been a couple letdowns in my opinion here recently. So I went in this movie really hoping to not dip down to that lower tier of these movies, and I would have to say this was definitely higher than the lowest of the movies. I don't think it reached the level of like a Conjuring 2, Conjuring, Annabelle Creation, but it was definitely a solid addition to the universe in my opinion.
Yeah, I had a good time with this movie. I do think it was better than the first one. My initial thoughts, I think it was better than the first one. I agree. I don't think it was at the level of the Conjuring 2, but there were some good scares, and I think they did the Nun justice. They did Valak justice in this movie, I feel.
Yeah, I agree.
They didn't nerf her. Why don't we go into our positives first?
Positives?
Me.
Well, I like the plot line. I think that was the first thing.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, leading off of, like, the Nun 1, the first one at least, like, it was just kind of, like, introducing you to the whole, like, Valak specifically, and isolating that. So, I feel like the first movie, in terms of impressions and everything, I know some people didn't particularly find it the best compared to all the other Conjurings. I feel like maybe I agree with that to some extent, but I guess when it comes to this movie, I don't know, things just pick up a lot faster, and there's a lot more to connect, and you really start asking yourself more questions. So,
like, who is that random person standing in the
exactly, and then we spent 10 minutes talking about it, and then it was fucking answer.
Right.
That's a positive, though.
No, for sure. I agree with that. Had us thinking, had us having a conversation afterwards.
Really? You thinking now? That's big.
Main positives for me were definitely the setting.
Oh yeah.
Definitely the setting. There were some really cool shots, and I really appreciated the callbacks to this universe from the previous film. It hinted towards the Conjuring movies, and I really appreciated that. And it still worked here, even though I'd seen it before. Like those scenes just really worked. And like you said, Valak was done pretty well. I would like to see her a little bit more, as I'll say in my negatives.
Yeah.
Like I said, there were some really good scares. The acting overall was done really, really well. And I agree with Kyle. The storyline was really good. Some really scary scenes, and the special effects were pretty good, and the music was done pretty well as well. So yeah, there was a lot to like about this movie.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd say the visual effects were top notch. Valak was pretty scary. There was a lot of cool scenes that wasn't like a loud jump scare. It was just stuff in the background, which is always cool in horror movies.
Yeah.
There's one scare in particular that I thought was excellent. Really got me jumping. Some was spoiled from the trailer, but overall I thought the Valak scenes were pretty good. I would have liked to have seen more. And the storyline, yeah, I was invested in the characters. There's a lot of characters. The main actress I thought was phenomenal. She was in the first one. I'd like to see another movie with her, but obviously she would be like 90 years old in the new one. So she'd be like 150 years old in the new one. So the main actress, like in the storyline, she would be 150.
I don't agree.
The other ones take. Oh, yeah, we can argue about that later. She was really good in the movie. There's a lot of good supporting characters. The whole cast is great, and it's probably the main positives. Why don't we go into our negatives for the film?
Negatives. The only thing I gotta say is every once in a while, there's always a scene in a horror movie that you just kind of gotta be like, okay, how much of this is like solely just for jump scare purposes?
Yeah. Cheap jump scares.
Yeah, and I feel like I remember there was one scene where the sidekick, she was a sidekick. Yeah,
right.
yeah. Oh wait, no, it was at the end of the hallway.
Oh, okay.
Those are the hallway. When they first showed the like the dark stairway,
Yeah.
I think it was some around that. But I remember there was the scene where they're like walking towards where they shouldn't go, and so it turns back around, and then you know it's like, okay, guys, we gotta go this way.
It's a stupid character decision.
Which is gonna happen in horror movies, but at the same time, it's like at least don't make it that obvious.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's
yeah.
like,
And then for me, like
You're off frame.
Oh,
you can shot.
But yeah. See, personally, I overanalyze these movies a lot more than I probably should. So there's certain things that maybe just will never get answered for me. Like I want to know, like, was this character from this movie? Like, how did this person come from? Where they come from? And I don't think I had enough answers still about Valak, about the nun. I got some more answers. I got some answers about what her goal was, what her initiative was, but I still don't really know where she came from. They hinted at it. There was a couple of cheap jump scares, like Crow and stuff. I'm like, come on. Like,
that was hilarious.
I thought the bullies thing was over the top. They didn't need to have
it.
It was so. I was ready.
Wait
Like,
for Valak to actually go.
Yeah, there was
one.
Well, she got.
Negatives really are. There were some cheap jump scares. I do wish we would have seen a little bit more of Alec. I do wish the origin story. I mean, this is the Nun II by now, but I would have liked to have seen, like Jake said, like an original. Like, this is where she was. She was with these other demons, and she like broke through and something like that. I don't know. I'd like to have seen maybe some more shots where you actually see Valak instead of her possessing someone. Which I know that's kind of the point. She possesses. I do wish we would have seen more of like actual Valak throwing crap and spawning stuff, and I don't know, doing some sorcery.
This could be a really dumb question. Don't really know. I just thought of this, but like, so do we know truly, like, what, like, in the representation of how they've shown the Valak to be, is Valak truly like that form, or is it something else?
That's a good point, because
I was gonna say, like, they always like show it as if it's the nun, but like I understand that like disconnected more to that, but like.
Because they said the demon can can make the form what
if y'all know,
fear.
answer in the comments.
Yeah.
You gotta go into credit. You gotta give Conjuring Universe some credit.
Yeah.
It's like super developed. Like you have to connect so many different things.
Right.
To be able to understand it.
And one last thing, if you can answer the questions, the comments.
Answer the questions.
I need you to let me know, what was the point of the eyes? What were the eyes going to do?
I had a theory on that. But I don't know.
We'll get into it in the spoilers discussion.
Fine.
We'll have you call into the spoilers.
Yeah, no, separate.
So, what are your final thoughts, and then your score out of 10?
All right. So, final thoughts. I'd say, like, I was really happy to see it because, quite frankly, like, I haven't seen a really good horror movie, like, physically, like, in theaters in a really long time. I think maybe the last time I saw one was like maybe 5 years ago. So that's a minute. That's for horror.
And you're a fan of this universe,
so like,
too.
yeah. I've always loved it. I mean, I saw The Conjuring a long time ago, and that was like what got me in.
Yeah.
And I just thought automatically that was like one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. I'm really picky about horror because it's a really like challenging like genre to get right.
Yeah, it's hard to make a good horror movie.
One to not make dumb. I'll probably give it like a 7.5, just for the sake of like, there's room for error, as in like there's more questions to be answered, and maybe they'll figure something out.
7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, it's crazy you said that, because I'm kind of right where you're at, and because it has me thinking so much, and this conversation has been taking place, that's credit to the movie for leaving these things in our minds. So, and I think it did respect the previous movies, and it built off it a little bit, and because of that, I'm going to have to go with 7.5 as well. I liked it more than the last Nun. I think I overrated the first Nun. I think I gave like an 8.
As is.
And you saw it 3 times, right?
Yeah, I saw it 3 times in theaters. Whenever that movie came out, so fact check me on that last statement that I made when I hadn't seen a movie in 5 years. That might be Cal. That might be Cal. I don't know.
No,
it's 5 years.
You're 100% right, because guess when I think it came out in 2018.
Oh my God.
You're right. You look it up. Almost positive. So I'm going to go with 7.5 as well for the Nun II.
Yeah, my final thoughts. I always compare this to the best horror movies I can think of. Smile is the best one I've seen in a while, and I don't think this comes anywhere close to it. There's still stuff I enjoyed. The acting's top notch. I just don't think it didn't make me as unsettled as other horror movies have. the cheap jump scares makes it falling more into the generic horror movie category. There's still stuff that stands out to me, so I'll give this a 6 out of 10 because I think it was above average. But it's to compare it to Smile. I mean,
I'm not comparing it to Smile. You smile a 10.
Well, just to compare it to those top-notch movies. Some solid stuff in this movie, and you can tell they care about the movie, and they care about Valak and her drive and her motivation and her initiative.
Clearly, she is inevitable.
Yeah, I mean,
she's a powerful, driven woman.
Her working gizmos and like in spells is as good as anybody.
This movie, I do think it falls in the average category. I would have liked some other stuff with it.
But we'll wrap it up right now. That was our non-spoiler review of The Nun II.
Yes,
Let us know in the comments what you think of the movie. What score would you give it, and where would you rank this movie in the Conjuring universe? And also, do you think it's better than the first Nun, or was it below? And let us know in the comments what you think of the movie, The Nun II, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.